All right. Welcome back to another exciting day of talking about Charlotte, North Carolina real estate. Today, we are going to be talking through Lake Norman, different communities, different lifestyles that you get with each one, and how your day to day life can really change depending on where you decide to live. So, if you're thinking about buying a home somewhere around here, choosing the right area to live is going to matter more than most people realize. Today, I'm joined by Stephen Custer, who works across the Lake Norman area and sees these differences every single day to a degree that even I do not get to see and experience. And I'm excited for Stephen to share some of his experiences and give you a better picture of what these different regions around Lake Norman look like. So, uh, welcome, Stephen. If you could give a quick intro about some of the different areas that you work in and service, as well as just a quick intro for yourself.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and kind of drop some knowledge on an area that I've lived going on 35 years. So maybe a little less, actually. But yeah, it's something I'm passionate about. Been here a long time. Grew up here. So um, happy to be here. And let's drop some knowledge, I guess. So yeah, the Lake Norman area is a wide wide range of area. So you've got the Denver side, the Mooresville, Cornelius, Davidson, Troutman, Statesville. So whatever you're kind of into, whatever your lifestyle is, there's a different piece when you're going around the lake. Um, some of them are a little more accessible than others just because of 77. So you got to kind of keep that in mind. Are you trying to get to the airport? Are you trying to get to Charlotte? Is that kind of a lifestyle that you want to go to? So kind of depending on where you want to be, it might give you a direction where you want to be on the lake. So that's probably where I would start with when I'm talking to buyers that are looking in this area.
Let me actually, I realize I'm going to go ahead and screen share too, so that it's easier to both visualize and for people to think through while you talk through. So for the yeah, let me share my screen. There we go. Okay. So we got Charlotte right here, the big old spider web, as I call it. And then just north of that, going up 77, then we have Lake Norman here. And so some of those regions you mentioned, so to the west, to the east, to the north, to the south, I guess how does the lifestyle compare between those? Or for somebody that's just starting to go through the research process, right? What are a few of the things that they should take into consideration if they're trying to understand what's similar, what's different between them?
You've got to go kind of around the lake to get to it. So it takes you a little bit longer to get there. It's not as developed. So if you're looking for like maybe a little bit more land or a little bit more bang for your buck, people tend to go to the other side of the lake. Well, it's the same lake, just there's a little bit less going on over there. It's not as developed. There's not as many homes. So some people have, skipped to the other side of the lake and um, they love it. So it's come a long way in the last 10 years, which both sides really have. Um, but that's kind of the biggest difference is just accessibility.
looking more to the north, more to the south, that sort of thing. Is that something a lot of people really look at? Very interesting. Um, Beyond that, give me 1 second here while I am trying to I think we got this set up. I wanted to make sure we had there we go, okay, we got that figured out.
Mhm. Mhm. I drew a blank. What was the question again? Sorry. Yeah. I feel like I was ready for it, and then I lost it. Yeah. Yeah, I think probably what kind of lifestyle they want. Do they like being around people? Do they like being around shops? Like those are probably all questions I would ask just because, Mooresville Cornelius, like you're around everything. You have every restaurant, mom and pop restaurants, chain restaurants, like you've got everything over there. And you, you're probably going to end up like if you're anywhere around the lake, you're probably going to maybe ending up in that area anyways, just because it's the closest place to it. Now, if you're in Denver, there's it's developing, but you're probably going to have to go outside of Denver to get to certain things because they don't have as many restaurants, and they have some, but I haven't spent a ton of time over there just because it seems like I'm more on the busier side. But like you said before, you do tend to get a little bit more money for your purchase, and I think that's why maybe people desire to be on the Mooresville side or Cornelia side because of they want it all. If they're going to spend $1 million plus to be on the lake, they want it all, right? So when maybe they find out, oh, I I'm not able to get exactly what I want here. I want a bigger home or I want a better view. Sometimes they do start opening up the search and then they go over to Denver, find out, oh, I can get a bigger home or I can get a better lot over here. And I don't mind the drive. I don't mind, um, going a little bit further, being away from people. I would almost call it like it's kind of young money versus old money because Mooresville, I feel like, is turned over, even though I've been here for 30 plus years. Um, there's probably a good bit of turnover where people have come in, raised their family, and now they moved on to somewhere else, or maybe gone to Charlotte or whatever. I mean, they're probably spreading all over, but I feel like Denver is a little bit more older money because their prices are still kind of climbing and they haven't really turned over as much, and there's still a wide range of homes over there. Um, that probably haven't been remodeled or anything like that. So I think there's some good opportunities over there. Because you could probably get 20% more home on the Denver side versus, the Mooresville Cornelia side. Well, east side of the lake there's a lot less to look at just because it's pretty much picked over. There's some lots that come up on Lake Norman that are still available, but really it's kind of very far and few between. Now you go to the west side, you've got lots more of options just because it's less developed. And then if you obviously like when you're talking about Lincoln County, that's even more rural. And mainly out there is I feel like I do know a really good builder out there. He's more on the kind of custom side, farmhouse style, and so I've kind of in tune with him over there, and really it's almost like kind of custom homes and bigger lots, probably at least a minimum of an acre, and you can get away with it out there. And you can build, at that time, I think the last time I sold one of his was a few years ago, and it was probably $500,000 home, and it was probably right around 3,000 square feet. It was beautiful. So
Hmm.
it goes even further when you go out that way. So, um,
Which, to put it in perspective for everybody that might be wondering, again, if you're not super familiar, I saw. Well, we were just talking about this a few days ago. What was it? There was a. It was a little over an acre on the. Uh, I guess it'd be out on the point, correct? Uh, a piece of dirt, nothing on it, sold for 2.5 million. Um, versus like you can get a very nice house and have money left over on that same size piece of dirt over on the west side of the lake.
yeah, well, it depends. It really, like, if you're like at the peninsula of a lot, you've got almost 365, views, or sorry, 360. I was like, wait, that didn't sound right. If you've got pretty much like 360 views, then
110% every day.
yeah, like you've got a nice view all around. Like it's gonna cost you, But
Hmm.
if you're at the end of a cove and you can probably barely put your boat in the water for half the year, then it's gonna be much much cheaper, obviously. So, um, but yeah, then you go skip across the lake, and I wouldn't say it's probably like 50% off, but it's quite a bit cheaper to go on the other side of the lake.
100%, 100%. So, to get into a little bit more, I guess, specifics around some of the main lifestyles around the lake at a very high level. If somebody's looking for, I'll just rapid fire these. I got a list. So, if somebody's looking for something that's walkable and has kind of a small town feel, what are a few of the areas around the lake that they might want to do some more research on?
Small time. I mean, I don't feel like Davidson's. I don't know. Davidson's not small, but it's kind of a smaller area, and you could technically walk around to shops and everything, and you're still by the lake. But I don't think
Hmm.
there's probably a 100% answer for your question. Um, you know, Denver's too big. I guess probably Davidson would be my answer on that one.
What if somebody is looking for lake centered living? Like they want to be out on the water just about every day that they possibly can year round. Some of the areas or communities around the lake that might be good for that.
I mean, anywhere, anywhere. I
The
mean,
whole thing.
the whole lake. You've got accessibility all around it. There's, if you've got a deeded boat slip, or if you've got, you can have access to it anywhere. So I mean, there's even parts up in Statesville that have access on the water. Like, it's a little bit less, but um, you can do it. You can do it.
What about something that'll be a little bit more family friendly, more suburban, more like where you're still going to be in a community. It's not going to be just like it'll be more of a community feel. What are some of the areas for that draw people in? Is that going to be the whole thing again?
I I was about to say, I was like, I know you're going to hate it, but it's the same thing again. I mean, there's community, like, this is such a developed area. Like, I might say, like, oh, one side's more developed than the other, but in the grand scheme of things, compared to, I don't know, somewhere in Montana, yeah, this place is very developed compared to very rural areas. So no matter where you go around there, people are finding the pockets that are going to fit their needs, and more importantly their wallets, because that usually kind of drives where they want to be. Everybody wants to be at the point or the peninsula and live around multi-million dollar homes. Well, maybe not everybody, but you know
It's a
everybody would
very
love it.
popular lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, that's if anybody had, if everybody had all the money they could want, that's probably where they're going to end up. It's safe. You're on a beautiful golf course and community and restaurants and everything like that. So sure, but I mean, honestly, like there's really nice neighborhoods up in Sherrills Ford. That's a little bit harder to get to because it's at the very northern side of Lake Norman. Then you got to go down 150, which is being redone. So that's a project that's going to be taking a few years. Um,
What
so
are they doing on 150 exactly? Because I know I've seen some stuff, but I don't know specifics.
I haven't really dug into it too much, but it's like 8 or 10 miles that they're redoing, and it should have probably started a few years ago, but they've been clearing out businesses all around that road, and they've kind of started here and there, but like I mean, it's going to be a few years before this is done, and you know, I've had clients that want to go over to Sherrills Ford, but they don't want to battle that for the next few years because they're going to be going over to Mooresville to go to the dentist or go to the grocery store, which actually they've got a grocery store out there now. But, you know, you want to go get a haircut. Like you might have to go over to Mooresville. So you're going to be, battling this traffic for 30 minutes to get there. So, but once that gets done, Sherrills Ford is going to be much more desirable. Um,
Because also back in the day, there was literally nothing in Cheryl's Ford other than some new construction.
yeah,
But it has grown a lot in the last few years. Is there, and this is something I know very little about actually. So I'd be curious to get your insights. What has been, if you had to pick one thing, what would you say has been probably the number one driver of why Cheryl's Ford blew up overnight? Because it was like there was not really a whole lot of anything there, and then it was like seven builders, six or seven builders with a bunch of different developments all went in about the same time. Was it just cheap land, or was there something more?
I think it's just really, really close to Mooresville, and Mooresville is very hot. It's one of the fastest growing areas in the country, and there's a lot of people moving to Mooresville, and they want to live in Mooresville or live close to family that's in Mooresville. And hey, I could just go right over here. Land's much cheaper. It's not very developed, but I think that's why. I don't think it's if you can go across the pond and get 10 acres for the price of 1 acre over in Mooresville, you're probably going to say this might be a decent option. So now you've got, like you're looking at right now, you're looking at, some restaurants and some businesses that have popped up, grocery store, ABC stores, all right there. Um, there's things here now, so it's becoming more desirable. And I expect over the next 3 to 5 years, Cheryl's Ford's going to be growing a lot.
And for yeah, especially because I personally I love Publix. Pub subs
Mm,
are such a classic. Uh, what about for if somebody's looking for a little bit more space, more privacy? Maybe they're not super budget conscious, but they are looking for something that's going to give them, maybe 150 foot lot. They're looking for something where there's enough depth to their lots that they have some real privacy. What are some of the areas that might be more likely to give them that sort of lifestyle around the lake?
what kind of budget?
Let's say we'll say like high end, mid tier, lower end of luxury, so maybe somewhere in the million five range.
I mean, there's probably 1.5 million all around the lake. I'm not trying to give you the generic answer, but really, you could probably find some in the Huntersville area. That's at which we haven't really talked about too much, but
Mm-hmm.
Cornelius and Mooresville might be a little more. Davidson, those are kind of the big three. Those are kind of the drivers driving prices up, just because of accessibility and shops. And you're 30 minutes from Charlotte, and that's what people love. They can be down at the airport in 30 minutes if they've got to be places or travel. But there's places over in Denver, same thing. Cheryl's Ford, like some of the nicest homes I've ever been in are over in Cheryl's Ford or Denver. Um, so yeah, the answer is all the above.
And so if somebody was looking for an acre lot, let's say sub a million, I'm guessing, at least in my experience, Davidson and Cornelius are for sure out.
Gone. Yeah.
Like, because even then, you're really looking like 1.5 million to get any sort of a substantial lot around there. But what would be a few of the, if somebody's looking again for privacy and they're looking in, let's say the 750 to a million range, a few of the areas that'd be really good to check out.
Denver, Terrell. Not, is it
Terrell,
Terrell?
where is it?
Take a look. It's there.
Let's see. How do you spell it?
TE.
Oh, Terrell.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's up in Charles Ford.
Yeah. It's this little pocket.
Hmm.
Yeah. Terrell, Cheryl's Ford.
I actually
Uh,
got this question the other day, not to jump around too much. How busy does 150 get? Because my impression has been 150 gets pretty busy, and with the construction, it's only going to get worse.
yeah. That's a nightmare that I avoid with all costs. Uh, I mean that's why Cheryl's Ford's. I wouldn't say it's hurting, but if they would have expanded that thing 10 years ago when it like I know these roads and tax money and they're always kind of behind and um, but man that's really slowed down the development over there. But once that gets done, Cheryl's Ford's going to be crazy. But yeah, I do not go on 150 unless I have to.
Um, and for let's see, what were we? Oh yeah, for acre
Another
lots,
5 minutes.
750 to million. Terrell, Denver. Is there anywhere else that'd be really good to check out close to the lake or on the lake?
Cheryl's Ford, Denver, Terrell. Um, I mean, Statesville's getting up there. Yeah,
Even Troutman was substantially
Troutman.
more economical even just a few years ago.
There's not a lot going on there. Like prices are starting to get pretty high in Troutman. Like I just went to a listing appointment recently, and it's a nice home, and like they're starting to get up there for prices. So it's kind of a same thing. I go to Mooresville all the time for all my shopping and kids stuff and events, and but I go to Troutman to get a better deal on a home, and they did, and they bought it for 4, and now it's worth 6 or 7, and it's like
Mhm.
so. Yeah, it's that's why you always kind of invest in these areas that are even surrounding. I'm not exactly sure which book I read, but like the guy always bought on one street over from prime areas, and he was always trying to move the needle one more street, and he would get the good price, and then obviously he'd fix up the property, and now he's moved the line, and he'll do it again and again. So it's like it's the same thing, you know.
Mhm.
You're in Cornelius or Davidson or Mooresville, the surrounding areas are going to get better, and prices are going to go up. And same thing with Charlotte. Charlotte is in the grand scheme of things even bigger than Mooresville or Lake Norman, and there's areas that were less developed, and now they're very close to Charlotte, like Wesley Heights, and now Wesley
Yeah.
Heights is going crazy.
And I
It's
remember when I moved to Charlotte, which was not that many, it was, like 4 years ago, give or take. Um, Even Wesley Heights was, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'6". I weigh, depending on the day, 230, give or take. And it's Wesley Heights was not someplace I felt comfortable walking around after dark a few years ago. And now it's like there's a greenway there. It's very, very like it has grown so much. A lot of the homes that were run down have been fixed up and flipped. And it's you see um you see people walking their dogs after dark there. It's like the area has gotten substantially more, it has just grown so much and gotten substantially safer in the last few years.
yeah.
Um, And again, to your point, like Troutman, a few years ago, it was very economical.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I just went on a list appointment. They bought it for low fours. Now they're looking at probably mid sevens just in a few years. So, um, yeah, it's pretty crazy though. It's amazing. So that's why you invest in good areas, and over time, it's hard to lose. So, um, but yeah.
Cool. And then the last one, I saved the best for last on this. So for luxury, for like the most, we'll say, well known communities around the lake, what would, for each side of the lake, we can just kind of go in a circle. What would be some of the most well known communities?
Um, I mean, obviously, there's the point, the peninsula. Those are really nice areas. Um, I I love Verdict Ridge over in Denver. That's probably my favorite.
What's the name of it?
Verdict Ridge.
Verdict Ridge.
It's one of my favorite golf courses there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Let's see. Can we drop the pin? Oh yeah.
yeah. It's a nice, quiet neighborhood.
Verdict Ridge in Denver. What else?
I mean, those have got to be the top ones for me. Um, there's the farms in Mooresville is very prestigious. The harbor. Um,
I'll just drop the pin for so people can visualize. Let's see. I haven't been over here in so long.
the farms is nice. There's actually two. It's kind of like the old and the new farms, and there's a little bit of a clash between the two, just because the ones that were built in early 2000s, those are the older ones, bigger homes, a little more character. Those ones are going for bigger money. There's some where they're on the lake, so they're going in the millions, and then but majority are 700 plus, and then you've got the Farms 2.0 that it was built in probably like 2015 ish,
Mm-hmm.
years old, right down the street. Those ones uh, are a little bit more new construction, and those ones are more in like the five, sixes, and sevens maxing out. So, but it's kind of funny. Same neighborhood, but they kind of clash a little bit.
The rivalry.
They're like we're in the older part of the farms, so kind of funny. They have some of the best amenities in the Lake Norman area too.
Is it just like community amenities, or what kind of amenities do they have?
Pickleball, tennis court, huge pool. I mean, they got it all. So
Awesome. I will, let's see. I'm going to go through my outline here and just see if there's anything else we might want to hit. Let's talk about some of the price ranges, and we'll go low to high, and just what are some of the things that, as people are starting to think about the Lake Norman area, they could expect. If somebody's let's say a true entry level price point is somewhere in the, like, we'll say 4 to 600,000 range. What are 1 to 3 the different types of options that they might be able to expect?
yeah, so obviously you're not looking at being on the lake, but you could probably be across from the lake, maybe a 2,000 square foot home. You could definitely make this happen over in Denver, Cheryl's Ford, maybe parts of Huntersville. Um, there's some like 55 and older communities in Mooresville that you could probably get into for maybe right around there or even less. I don't even think
Mhm.
there. 400. So there's some good value there. Um,
And they could be like within potentially within walking distance of the water.
yeah, I mean, there's some condos even in Cornelius. I haven't even really thought about that till now, but like, you can be in a condo, maybe 1,000, 1,200 square feet in Davidson, Cornelius for, man, maybe maybe mid fours. There's some really nice ones, maybe on the third or fourth floor that have a long lake view, and obviously those can get them into the million range. But you could definitely have a Lake Norman view with a condo in those areas, mid mid threes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen some stuff that's there was, oh god, where, well, it wasn't within walking distance of the lake, but it was there in Huntersville. It was a development maybe 2 years ago that had some real pretty townhomes, maybe about 1,800 square feet, and at least at the time, I think there were 329.
yeah,
Um, so for if somebody's looking for, let's say, somewhere in that like 6 to 8 range, um, getting out of the condo, and there still are some townhomes in that price range. But what else would they be able to find in that 6 to 8 range?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're probably not really finding any more townhouses in that range. That's kind of maxing out. That's more Charlotte money at that point. If you're if you're getting into townhouses in Charlotte, then sure, you're probably looking in the fives or sixes, sevens. Um, townhouses are mainly probably in the threes and fours around the Lake Norman area. Um, but to get in the sevens, eights, you're probably you're probably going down to single family or really nice condos around the lake. So yeah,
I guess, are there any particular areas where you get a really good bang for your buck in that price range?
bang for your buck. Yeah, probably Cheryl's Ford or Troutman. Those are probably the big two.
More
Uh,
towards the north end,
yeah,
or like a condo more towards the south end.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then, oh,
Every,
go for it.
yeah, everybody wants to be kind of close to everything. They want it all. They want to be within. I like. I've never lived in Huntersville before, but I think it's kind of a great area to be in because you can be technically you could be on the water in Huntersville, and within 15, 20 minutes, you can be in the heart of Charlotte. So,
Mhm.
um, Huntersville's kind of interesting. It's a nice little sweet spot, depending on, maybe you want the best of both worlds. That's your spot.
And then for anywhere in that, let's say 800 to 1.2 range, how did the home options change versus like the 6 to 8 range?
Yeah, I mean, you're probably getting a little bit bigger home, maybe a three-car garage versus a two, bigger lot. Um, you could probably, I mean, you're going to get a whole lot more going over on the west side versus east side.
And then what are some of the entry, to wrap it up, what would be some of the entry points in terms of cost that people could expect, or how much of an investment they would need to make uh, to get waterfront at, we'll say, like kind of the south end of the lake, north end of the lake, or in some of the the most well-known communities like the farms or the harbor, or the point, or anywhere around there?
Not sure where you want to go with this one. Um,
Just like if somebody wanted to be truly like on the water with their own private dock, what would be the entry point, cost wise, for the south end of the lake versus those other two regions?
yeah, I mean, it's going to be kind of a lot. or very similar. Depends on. Sorry, it's going to be very similar no matter where you are on the lake, just because you're dealing with Duke. So if you're trying to develop a piece of land, obviously, does it perk? Does it not? If it doesn't perk, then it's worth quite a bit less or nothing. Um, unless it's on city water, city sewer, then then you can kind of do your thing. But at the end of the day, they're not really giving out these permits anymore to build these docks. So it's almost one of those things, you got to buy a piece of land with a dock that's already existing. Then you can use that footprint to build one again. But um, you're going to go through the same hoops no matter which side of the lake you go on.
And for existing homes that already have a dock, would that be um, like what if somebody wanted waterfront with an existing dock towards the south end of the lake? What would be kind of the minimum they would need to invest to get that?
Yeah, gosh. I mean, if you're just doing talking like raw land, not a house there.
No,
Uh,
existing. Well, we're lumping it all together.
okay, yeah, yeah, probably a couple million, honestly.
If they're looking more towards Cheryl's Ford or Denver, what would be, or maybe Troutman, but what would be the minimum to buy an existing home with a dock around there?
Probably you could probably get into it million and a half. Um, I think maybe last year I did see something come up for like 900. It was a pretty small home, but it was on the lake there, so quite a bit less.
Hmm. And then if somebody wanted something in again the farms or the harbor or the point or the peninsula, what would be the? I mean, I know you can get up to 10 million or north of that for some of the craziest estates on the water. But what's the entry point around there in those communities to be waterfront?
Yeah, the point, the harbor, you're you're over 2 million for a good, nice piece of land with a dock. Um, one last year for 2.3, and it was, I want to say it was probably about 3,500 square feet, but it had a beautiful lot, beautiful dock, flat lot. Like, it was pretty nice. So I wouldn't say that's entry level, but it's it's pretty much where you are in Mooresville at this point for entry level.
Well, perfect. I appreciate you hopping on. I got to get going here in a minute, but for anybody watching, again, this is Stephen Custer. He's one of the top agents in Mooresville and on the lake. Thanks for joining today. And for anybody that wants to get in touch with you, I'll leave down in the description. You can go get in touch with Stephen there or with me. And uh, I guess, do you have any final thoughts or anything, or the best way that people can get in touch with you? Text you, call, email, anything and everything.
Well, as most realtors are, there you can find us on any social media you want. Custer Real Estate, Stephen Custer. You can find me just about anywhere, but usually Instagram, Facebook. Send me a message, give me a call, email. I'm there for you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hopping on. And again, hit those links down in the description. Also, if you want a list of homes that are on the waterfront, I'll add that down below as well. Until next time, as always, hope to help you make Charlotte home.